Wait, do I see? Oh my god, do I not know how to do a request? Okay, there she is.
Did it! You did it!
Every time I'm so proud. It's only like my third live stream with someone and I get so scared.
So confusing, right? You're like, oh my God, what in the hell? Did I do this correctly? I know
it's really scary.
I know, it's super scary. Thank you so much for doing this,
You're
Bob.
so cute always.
And oh man, you do.
Thank you.
A lot to me. And
No worries.
I think that these conversations are made to feel so scary and so complicated, and they don't have to be. Do you know what I'm saying?
No, for sure.
So I think I really wanted to talk about a lot of things, but I really wanted to start with ceremonial gestures and white saviorship, because I think that because I do think that there are a lot of white people really doing great work, right? Showing up, they're supporting, they're all tagging and reposting and graphics, and I think that's awesome, and that isn't lost on me. But I do think it's important to talk about ceremonial gestures, because in some ways, like Black Lives Matter Street, for instance, right? We have streets that are Black Lives Matter Road. You know, now we're gonna have a Black Lives Matter holiday. Things are they're definitely not void of progress, but they're not what Black and brown people have like asked for.
Right. And that's what I love. I mean, anyone who's watching after this live stream, like, just go to Sophia's page and watch her saved lives, because they're just, one, so informative, but two, you make them so conversational. And I love how you obviously come into every live with something that you want to talk about, but you respond really well to the people in the comments, and that's my favorite part. And it really becomes a conversation with the people that are watching. And this is something that you spoke about the other day that I really, really enjoyed, that conversation where she was explaining how a lot of times white people will go into Black and brown communities and assume that we know what people need without trying to listen or have the conversation or build the relationships in the first place.
Right.
And we talked about, in work that we've both done, you know, for welfare of others, the importance of going into those situations with the questions of, what do you need? What can we do for you? And, you know, what do you want the world to know about you? So that it's those people that are creating those narratives about themselves, instead of us saying, oh, because I'm a white person, I'm going to give you this because it's what I have in my life, and that means that you probably want it too.
Bingo. That assumption, and that's even as far back as the 1200s and 1300s, we see proof of this when we think about Westerners and missionaries. And this is about all the time.
You need God, or you need Jesus.
And, oh my God, these poor heathens, they're in poverty. They need Jesus, you know? And it's like, no,
they already have their religion.
They already have that. Not like throw a Bible at them, right? Like, you know, I think it's also like, again, you're looking at things through this sort of film of privileged veil. Like, it must be Jesus that they need. That must be the answer, right? Because that's me. So I think that, you know, when you're walking into a Black or brown neighborhood, to have this sort of idea that you know what this group of people might want, because that's what you know, like maybe you want a Whole Foods in your neighborhood. Perhaps these Black and brown people don't want a Whole Foods in their neighborhood. You know what I'm saying?
They want their local grocery store they've had for 15 years.
Yes, I can confirm that we do not want Whole Foods in our neighborhood. We definitely don't. But I think that when we're looking at sort of the idea of like, how can I help? Sometimes we want to put ourselves really into it. And there's this, you really have to take the privilege completely out of it, and really just have to hang out in this place of like, you don't know anything. This is people you don't know. This is a neighborhood you don't know. You know, and I always use this example in my neighborhood. There's this woman who has
the flower shop.
This is a wonderful example. And I just think about say you want to support her, instead of going into this flower shop and saying, oh, you know what? I have supplements for you, or I have coupons for you. Why not get to know this Black woman? Why not get to know her story? Why not wow, like she lives in Brownstone right across the neighborhood. She's late on her property taxes. She lives with 6 other people. Wow, you know, she might need some marketing help. And my husband does. Or she might need help with her social media. Oh, that's what my son does. Right? Like it really comes down
and it doesn't mean money. It doesn't mean
right.
always giving money. It's about like helping with like resources and connections and things that we have from privilege in the first place, of maybe like a broader scheme of education or whatever, those tools that can be used to help other people. And also what you said the other day about what was it? Yeah, I mean, you just said it with like, so with just being like, I can offer this. And what I was going to say is that once you create the trust between someone and they actually know that you're someone that is supportive of their business, comes in, talks to them every week, actually has a conversation, then the trust builds, and then they will start to open up about like what they need. And if you're listening, you'll pick up on those things, even if it's not a direct like, I need
exactly
this.
exactly 1,000%. Much is really tied into what that relationship is. So just support Black and Brown kids. I'm just going to throw some money at an organization, keeping in mind that organizations many times rely on the death of Black people. This is when they're like, ooh, someone's died, let's promo. I suppose I talk about the gift of grassroots giving. Grassroots giving sometimes about money, and so much is about resources, as so much as it's about assistance. You know, comes in all sizes, but you don't know the assistance necessary unless you develop the relationship, and ask. And it can seem a weird thing, but in the time we've talked about before, the other day when we talked about Women's Prison Association, when you're working on a reentry program with someone who was previously incarcerated, you ask, what can I do for you? What is it you need? Is it work? Is it clothes? Is your children, like, etc.
And remember that they're individual people and stories. They're not just like a Black or brown person, and that means that like everyone needs the same thing.
Absolutely. And I mean, this also conversation really, like, this really ebbs into, and we spoke about redlining, which, by the way, redlining was only outlawed in 1968. I mean, this was ago.
And what I realized the other day in your live is that, like, I mean, thankfully I had really good history teachers, and I also took world issues classes outside of history. Like, I was just interested in it, so I was really privileged in that way. But I realized that, like, there's so many people that didn't learn about redlining, didn't learn about gentrification, and like, it's so important, and it's something that we should touch on. Please continue.
Yeah, I think well, not only is it an important topic, and I want to make sure that I have my stats here, but I can only New York. I only want to speak for New York because I am a New Yorker. I've been in New York for more than 10 years. Like this gentrification thing. Bill de Blasio, he's the first of 109 mayors, that had his sort of celebratory celebration. I'm the mayor of Brooklyn. No other mayor wanted to have that happen in Brooklyn. He was like, I'm Park Slope. This is rad, right? This is the first time in 2013. This happened literally 11/5/2013. I'll never forget it because November 5th is my birthday. So it's like, so I remember the day so clearly, that he's talking about redlining. And he's saying, like, I remember when redlining was a thing. And I actually have a very clear definition of redlining so that we know what it is. Very clear.
Yeah.
Or institutions refuse mortgages or any kind of service to a certain neighborhood, racial or ethnic composition. This was legal, very legal, up until 1968. Not only was it legal, but there was a corp, which is now defunded, called the Homeowners Loan Corp. These people were bankers, real estate agents, part of this sort of bank redlining institution that were actually who created the maps.
Yeah, and everyone should go to their own home cities.
Yes.
And see what their redlining maps, how they've changed and how they were in the beginning, and then what areas have now become, how they've changed. Because like you were talking about the other day, like Brooke, even I learned last week, like Central Park used to be like a very thriving, amazing Black community with churches, with like schools,
Harlem
with all these things. And then one day it's just like, and the importance of also then why these communities that are first like, oh, this is like dangerous, or like what do they label them as?
I don't know.
There's like different, when the areas first get redlined, they're like,
oh yes,
the certain words they use are like just so bizarre.
Well, what I wanted to point out is because this is the argument that we always get when we hear about redlining. We always get it.